stylists, and welcome to our beard tutorial. There are a variety of methods and material choices you could use to create a beard. For this video, we will be using a large lace square and a pack of short wefts from our website. You'll want to start by drawing out a pattern. I cut open the plastic bag that the lace square came in, and my scruffy assistant here is letting me trace over the outline of his facial hair. If you don't have your own scruffy assistant or need a different shape, secure the plastic to your face with some tape and freehand the outline while referring to your reference images and using a mirror. Pick a material for the base. We will soon carry these lace front caps that allow you to make your own lace fronts from scratch, but they can be a tad pricey when you're only needing the material on the front. As a cheap alternative, you can use tulle from your local fabric store. It's hard to see in this video because it's fairly translucent, but I recommend selecting a color that is close to your skin tone. Here is our large lace square, which is 6 by 3 inches of hand-tied fiber. But as you can see, this alone won't be enough for such a large beard. I'm only going to use the ventilated hair for the areas that are most important, which are along the top edges of each area and the mustache. Wefts will be used to fill in the rest. Our fibers are pretty smooth in comparison to real facial hair. I'm going to demonstrate a few methods for altering the texture, which will also provide some extra volume. For this first method, I'm going to separate the hair into several small braids. Secure the ends with elastics or knot and clamp. I'm using one elastic here to secure several braids together. Swish your braids into boiling water followed by a cold rinse. Cut the ends and comb the braids out. Here's a piece of weft in the same width as the one I braided. See the difference? Once the braided section is dry, you can use a fine-tooth comb to tease it. Comb the hair backwards while holding the ends until you have the desired look. The end result has more volume and will look more convincing. Here's another method for adding texture to your wefts. You'll need a baking sheet, a pot holder, metal tongs, and a heat gun. Clamp the top section of wefts with the tongs and aim your heat gun on the fibers. Our classic fiber is up to 420 degrees heat resistant, so you might need to turn up the heat or position the gun closer to the fiber until they start to frizz and melt just a little. Repeat on the other side before running a comb through it. Here you'll see the difference in texture and volume. We strongly advise not doing this method on the lace squares, and it's because the lace material does not tolerate such high temperatures. I have a small sample cut from the lace. Watch as I get closer to it with the heat gun. It shrivels up like a shrinky dink. You don't want to waste $69, so don't do it. Place your tulle or lace over your pattern. It's time to sew the wefts in place. I'll be using some matching thread and a hooked needle. I find it easier to pin the weft first and then pick it up to sew. Reposition the tulle and place the next weft above the first one. Sew and repeat until your wefts reach about ½ inch from the top edges of the shape. Here I've cut out my pattern and I added some jagged lines for more variation. Like I mentioned before, we will be using the lace square for the top edges and mustache. Pin your pattern piece in place and start trimming a piece for one side along the top edge. Try to cut the lace only and pull away pieces you cut off as you go. This piece is not attached to the mustache, so trim on each side. Then trim about an inch below the top edge. Try nudging your scissors under the lace so you're just cutting the lace and not the hair. Here's what my beard looks like so far without the lace pieces, and here's a preview how it'll look with lace pieces attached. Start trimming away the excess tulle, but keep a small allowance along the top edges for overlapping with the ventilated pieces. Use your pattern as a guide to pin the ventilated pieces. Now to sew in place. Use thread that matches the hair color and attach with a whip stitch. As long as the thread color matches, it'll blend right in. My base tool was a tad too wide, so I trimmed the excess above the stitches. You can see the wefts when there's light shining through, but once you have something behind it, they're well hidden. Repeat for the other side, the chin area, and the whole mustache. The mustache will be worn as a separate piece, so set it aside for now. Also set aside any scraps, you might need them. Here I'm pinning the chin piece. The small bit under the lip is a tad thinner than what I like, so I'm going to stack a small square of scrap on top of it. Use a whip stitch in the back area to secure it in place. Now you can cut in style. You can use heat from a hairdryer and a little hairspray to tame the hair in the direction you want. If you did the braiding method instead of using a heat gun, now would be a good time to backcomb the fibers. Time to trim and style the mustache. I'm going to stack the scrap from the mouth area of my pattern under the mustache piece for more volume. You can use a whip stitch again for this. If the hair gets caught under the stitches on the outside, use your needle to free them. One last trick before we trim. If you have a flat iron that has a temperature setting higher than 420 degrees, you can use it to melt and frizz the fibers similarly to the heat gun method without ruining the lace. Clamp the iron over several areas of the hair for the texture effect. You don't want to slide the iron down a piece of hair because this can melt them right off. Now you can trim and style. Once finished, you can use spirit gum or lace tape to attach it. Thanks for watching! Have you made a beard using our products? Share them with us. Send photos to customers@ardawigs.com.